going on, good people? This is Nikki, and I'm here on Voice and Value, where I use my voice to express my valuable opinion in a non-critical and unbiased way. Here I go again, minding my own business while all up in somebody else's. Today, I'm calling Dawnhampton to step up into the spotlight. Dawnhampton, aka Latruth's big sister, aka the Queen of Receipts, is one of the single most reasons why we have gained an insight into her infamous ex-sister-in-law, Brianna Hampton. Dawn is the biological sister of Robert Hampton, who's also known as Latruth. If you've been following the Latruth saga, then you remember when Dawn released the receipts of text conversations between herself, Brianna, and some of Brianna's most staunch supporters. The release of those receipts, which were proven to be real and factual, unveiled a lifestyle of toxicity between Brianna and her on-again, off-again relationship with her boyfriend, Jonell X. Young. At the time of this video, they're currently off again. When Dawn first released the text thread receipts and photos, Brianna supporters went into full defense mode. They were quick to say that the text conversations were fake and the receipts were doctored. No one was able to provide any evidence, concrete or otherwise, of the receipts being anything less than authentic. The only way to respond to Dawn's release of the receipts was to personally attack her looks, her financial situation, and to remind people that Dawn was first with Brianna before she was against her. But that didn't work because, baby, let me tell you, Dawn is comfortable in her own skin and she absolutely loves herself. She was shown love throughout her life, and the first man to pour into her with love and instill self-confidence was her father, her biological father. He loved her with everything in his being. Our father should always be the first man that we love and the example of how a woman should be treated by a man. Before I go on to tell you how Dawn was resilient against the barrage of attacks against her, let me remind you that none of the people speaking against Dawn's looks have come on social media revealing their own natural look without makeup or lashes or wigs or hair extensions, filters, or even their original teeth. Well, one content creator did come on without any of those things, and she definitely has no room to criticize anyone's looks, male or female. But my point is, how can people who purchase new teeth, who appear on camera with a full face of makeup, who either color or cover up their natural hair, have room to criticize others when they're obviously not even comfortable in their own skin without a filter? It's hypocritical, to say the least. But before I continue, watch this.
People know exactly what they're doing until they get exposed. That's a word that came to one of the people on my team, and she gave it to me, and I'm giving it to you. People know exactly what they are doing until they get exposed. And once they get exposed, then they get confused, or they made a mistake, or they don't understand, and they'll then make you wrong. You see, everything is a process. If you are going to the bathroom, you have to have the thought, and then you have to find the bathroom. You have to pull your pants down or open your zipper or do whatever. Everything is a process. There is no way that we can do something, particularly something painful, ugly, harmful, hurtful to ourselves and somebody else, and not know what we're doing. But when somebody calls them on their stuff, then they get confused, and they have an excuse and a rationale. Now, here's two things about that. The first thing is, never judge your clarity on somebody else's response. Know what you know, see what you see, feel what you feel, and call it out. Call it out. Don't worry about people attacking you when you expose what it is that they're doing, because they know. Now, here's the other thing about that. You are people too. So the question becomes, what is it that you do when you get called out, when you get exposed? Do you get confused? Do you deny? Do you have an excuse, a rationale, a justification for your unkind, unloving behavior? Yep. We know what we're doing when we do it. We just don't want anybody else to know that we know, so we find ways to cover it up. But that's not working anymore. So, look at your defense strategies. Look at what it is that you do to hide, to excuse, to rationalize those things that you do that are less than the truth of who you are. Because people know.
People know. Iyanla Van Zant said that people know exactly what they are doing until they get exposed. Then the confusion sets in, or they try to gaslight you into thinking they know not what they were doing. In the case of Dawn Hampton, she exposed all the lies and secrets that were kept from the public eye that hid the truth of who Brianna Hampton really was. That exposure was the beginning of understanding what was taking place behind the scenes by the wife and her supporters to destroy a man who was innocent of the accusations being made against him. And that's the accusation of physical abuse within the Hampton marriage. Dawn made no excuses for her part in releasing the recordings or the text threads that exposed her sister in law. She stood on business. It was not only exposing Brianna, but also the people in her corner who worked diligently to bring him down, as one woman put it. Dawn admitted even her own part of the wrongdoing in terms of releasing private information and photos after gaining their trust. Dawn even exposed some of the things that she said that was in a bad light toward her own siblings during these receipts that she shared. Dawn explained why she stood strong against her brother, whom she believed at the time had done the unthinkable to his wife, and that's to lay hands on him. And I don't mean the way the preachers do it. Imagine being Dawn and already having a sort of estranged relationship with your paternal siblings. Actually, they were maternal siblings because they share the same mother, not father. Then one of them gets married, and you don't even meet the bride until after they've already tied the knot. Well, you can assume that their relationship was private, at least up until that point, even though they were married only a few months after meeting each other online. Soon afterwards, a child was born, Dawn's niece, Amora. It was through this connection that Dawn established a bond with her sister in law. And as you all know, when we first meet someone, we're really meeting their representative. It'll be a while before we get to know the true person, flaws and all. Dawn was told by her sister in law that Robert was physically harming her. Why would she lie? Okay, act like you don't know Brianna Battle and ask yourself, why would your sister in law tell you that your brother hits her if it isn't true? I personally can't think of a good reason. It didn't help that Don and Robert weren't extremely close as siblings growing up, so one would sort of understand why Dawn believed the story that she was being told. Having built a connection to her niece Amora, Dawn would visit her often, sometimes babysitting and oftentimes connecting with her sister-in-law, cooking and cleaning at the house. Dawn admits that she never was an eyewitness, though, to any physical abuse by her brother towards her sister-in-law. But woman to woman, Dawn took the words of Brianna as factual. Mind you, these allegations of abuse didn't even surface until after the couple separated. Now, one might say Brianna was protecting her husband by keeping their private affairs private during the marriage. Okay, I get that. And if that's true, I applaud that. I must admit that Brianna can be convincing, especially when she gives her account of things through falling tears and a shaky voice. As time went on, the siblings became estranged, even more so than before. They viewed Dawn as a traitor, an embarrassment to the family, and they mutually decided to not deal with her anymore. Okay, I get that too. But when Dawn was friends with Brianna, she was allowed into the circle. The sister circle, the circle of trust. The people in Brianna's circle trusted Dawn with private information because they felt that Dawn felt the same way that they did about her brother Robert. Not only that, that she also wanted to tear him down, but that she didn't care for him. The sisters began throwing shots at each other. The exchange was so hurtful, I can't bring myself to repeat any of the things they said about each other. The brothers even threw subliminals like, sister, what sister, when referring to Dawn, or they just simply ignored her existence. You have to remember that Dawn was trusted by Brianna and her people, family included. For this reason, no one was feeding her lies. In case she decided to mend things with her siblings, Brianna trusted her enough that she asked Dawn to accompany her to the courtroom so she could get a temporary protection order against her brother. Dawn thought she was accompanying her as moral support, allegedly, but once they arrived at court, Brianna listed her as a witness. Dawn did not witness anything, and she was smart enough to be truthful to the courts about that. The first court rejected Brianna's claims because the abuse allegations couldn't be proven. And there were no eyewitnesses. None. Not even Dawn. Determined to get the TPO, Brianna and Dawn went to a second court. Denied. Then a third court. Well, all three courts denied her petition because it was all hearsay and no real evidence, no witnesses. In other words, we don't believe you, ma'am. Before Dawn released her arsenal of receipts, people who followed the Latruth saga all believed the representation that they were shown, including myself, and that's of Big Bree, who was a boss babe that leveled up with a big stepper and moved on from her husband quickly after their very public separation. With the help of Bree's supporters, we witnessed a loving couple where a young man was not fazed by the fact that his new girlfriend has 4 children while he has none. He was the new sheriff in town, the up and coming actor who already had a few movies under his belt. Robert had told Brianna allegedly that no one would want her and her 4 kids. Brianna was hell set on proving him wrong. Her supporters accused everyone who disagreed with her of being jealous of her beauty and mad because she proved Robert wrong and envious of her life, despite the fact that she was only 30 years old with 4 kids under the age of 12 and was being forced into divorce by her famous husband. Once the receipts were released, the word spread like wildfires throughout social media. That is, when Brianna's mask fell off. Oh, her slip started showing, and her secrets were exposed while people began to see her in a very different light. They also began to look at her boyfriend, John L. Young, differently too, because it exposed him for being a serial cheater, physical abuser, a financial abuser, and a downright user with a capital U. As if Dawn's receipts alone weren't enough, another content creator came forth and confirmed that Dawn's receipts were indeed real and not fabricated in any way. That same content creator also admitted that she was covering up verbal, physical, and emotional abuse by John L. X. Young towards his married girlfriend at the time, Brianna Hampton. The exposure was epic. Dawn deserves to be monetized on all of her channels, and she also deserves the monetary support from her followers and subscribers. Dawn deserves a platform like Brianna had where she can be interviewed to tell her version of the saga while providing real proof from a real family member who knows all parties involved, including the boyfriend. Dawn is no different than any other monetized content creators who try to shame Dawn into submission and ridiculing her for requesting monetary gifts for her time and effort. It's the hypocrisy for me. Dawn has a voice and she has a right to be heard, to voice her opinion and provide factual information that directly contradicts those whose failed attempt was to destroy Latruth. After all, the saga is about her brother, his daughter, and now her ex-sister-in-law. So why do I feel like Dawn is the GOAT? The queen of receipts? It's because Dawn thwarted the plans of destruction against her brother. She made a conscious decision to mend her relationship with her siblings while at the same time continuing to bond with her niece. Dawn is auntie, y'all, in the figurative and literal sense of the title. Dawn opened the eyes of logical and rational thinking people who believed all the allegations against her brother that painted him as an abuser, as a deadbeat father, and a liar. If Brianna had her way, Latruth would have either been behind bars or would have lost everything he worked so hard for in his life. That is, the relationship he built with his two daughters and the brand he built for his music and social media career. Dawn is a shero. She is living proof that people do change, that broken relationships can be mended, that forgiveness is good for the soul, and that trust, even once broken, can in fact be earned again. Whoever says sticks and stones can hurt my bones, but words can never hurt me, baby, they don't know Dawn Hampton. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.